So, Stranger Things season 5. I understand I'm a little bit late to the party, but uh, I watched it like 2, 3 weeks ago, and I've had time to talk about it with a lot of my friends and my family. And I don't like it. I'm actually a lot of them called me like a full blown hater for not liking it this time, and I've never been like a hater before. So, but like I think I'll admit that yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it, but I kind of wanted to just kind of ramble on and give my thoughts about why I didn't like Stranger Things season 5, volume 1. Obviously, like as the date of recording this, it's the 20th. So, came out on the 5th of this month. Honestly, I'm not sure, but it came out a couple weeks ago. And I've had I got my two cats here with me, so it was special. But I've had like the last 2 weeks to kind of think about it and um marinate with it, and I can confidently say I don't like it. I don't think it's actually that good. I don't think it's very good. Um, so this is my big spoiler warning. I'm gonna get into major, massive spoilers. I'm just gonna kind of go, one by one and talk about what I didn't like, thoughts, theories, questions. But for the most part, I'm just gonna kind of rant about season 5, volume 1. Okay, so spoiler warning out of the way. If you're here, if there's not very many of you out there, but spoiler warning just in case. Spoiler warning for Jay. Jay, spoilers. Okay, don't watch it. Catch up. Okay, don't watch this. Um, so basically, plot of I guess let's talk about like where season 4 leaves off. So end of season 4 leaves off the big split in Hawkins. Okay, and immediately how season 5 begins is there's about a year and a half. I'm pretty sure it says about a 500-day time skip between seasons 4 and seasons 5. I don't like that. I think that they've done a time skip for every season up until this point, and up until this point, I think the time skips have been okay, but based off of how they left season 4, I saw that time skip and immediately was like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. I don't think I'm gonna like this season. I really don't. Like in my head, what Stranger Things has done really well up until this point, like one of the things that I think that they've like the Duffer Brothers have kind of mastered has been that element of the beginning of the season, right? Stuff happens to these characters on separate occasions, right? Pulls these characters apart. They spend the season learning their portion of the mystery, and then they come back together. And it kind of all accumulates in this one wonderful buildup. And then, the characters come together, obviously, and then fight the big bad or fix the problem in the season, right? Like, you get like plenty of that, and they do a really good job. Okay, and I think that at season 4 with Hop in Russia, Hop, Joyce, and Murray all the way in buttfuck Russia, and I think like you know what I'm saying? They're in Russia. Then you have Mike and John and Will, and Elle was doing her thing for a minute there, and then met up with them, and then they're in on their way to Indiana at the end of it. I don't remember where they stopped, but they stop at that pizza joint like on the way. But they were in California, right? And then you have like the main group of people that are in Hawkins, and then at the end of the season, they all converge. And they've split them all up again for no reason. They all converge now. The big bad is in Hawkins. Like, it's done. The master plan to open the gate, it's here. And then they take all, it's been 3 years, so the wind was kind of not already helping out. But they took all the wind out of its sails again by now leaving that gate open for a year and a half. Like the culmination of the entire like the villain's plot of the show was to get the gate open to invade Hawkins. And you're telling me that it's been open for 500 days and no one's done a thing. Like the military set up in there, sure. And that's just like okay. Like the Upside Down is just like not like Vecna or the Mind. They're just okay. Will wasn't even in the Upside Down in season 2, and that shadow monster was like up his crack. Like anyway, so I didn't like that. But essentially, like narratively, it kind of takes off. Like in that first episode, The Crawl, Hopper's been sneaking into the military bases, into the Upside Down, like going in with the military. That way, he can kind of scout out the area, find Vecna, and kill him, which already doesn't make sense. What is Hopper gonna do against a superpowered being like 11? The whole gang watched Vecna turn people inside out the season prior, and now they're like, yeah, if we send in Hopper alone, he'll take care of it. What do we do? And then on top of that, you have like the I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. But point is, right? So the whole concept of that crawl doesn't make sense to me. But essentially, they're trying to crawl because they're trying to find Vecna. They quote unquote don't know if he's still alive or not, right? Like they badly wounded him at the end of season 4, but no one knows if he's, alive or dead. But there is the very prevalent like threat of the Upside Down, right? But their goal, specifically the gang, not like the military or anybody else, but the gang specifically, their goal is to now go find Vecna and hunt him down. And so it seems like the plot of this season kind of pivoted a little bit to, instead of being, the Mind Flayer using Vecna against the kids, it's now kind of pivoted to where, like, you know, the Mind Flayer, like, flayed Vecna when Vecna was a kid, and then that's why he killed all those kids in the hospital, and he's actually a good guy, and he's misunderstood, and we gotta, like, I feel like they're building up to one of those things where he's trapped in his own brain, and they have to go in there, get him out, and he's gonna help fight the Mind Flayer. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm just, but anyway, so then whatever. And so, but then like the main plot of the show is essentially there's this guy named Mr. What's It, and he's like scouting out the children of Hawkins or whatever, and he's trying to abduct them, right? So it starts with Holly, right? Holly starts having these visions and starts talking to like this imaginary friend named Mr. What's It, right? And again, okay. So Cat stopped the recording. He's so proud of himself. He's so proud of him. Anyway, I don't exactly remember where I left off, to be honest. I probably should have looked at that. But Mr. What's It, right? So, anywho, so like general, like, you know what I mean? Like, Holly's talking to Mr. What's It, okay? And Karen, like the mom, like her mom, obviously Holly is, the younger sister of both Mike and Nancy, okay? Both main characters, both fully well aware of the situation going on. They hear that she's been talking to an imaginary friend, and no one bats an eye, right? And again, like, you could make that argument that, like, oh well, like, kids talk to imaginary, like, that happens all the time, but not in Stranger Things though, right? Like, not when Vecna's been known to, like, you know what I mean, like, scout out his victims like that and kill them like that, you know what I mean? So anyway, but what happens is they leave it alone, no one pays attention to it, and then uh later that night, Demogorgon comes in and like rips open, like tries to abduct Holly, right? And you get this like crazy, you get this sequence, not crazy, you get the sequence basically where Holly's running away from this Demogorgon, and then Ted hears screaming, and so he goes up to try to fight the Demogorgon with a golf club. Ted sit him down, Wheeler did his thing, got murked, and then Karen is like, yo, like, you're not gonna take my daughter, and she has this like moment where she's like, no, like, you're not gonna take him, and she starts stabbing the Demogorgon with a wine glass. And the Demogorgon just like takes it like a good little bitch. Like, it's just like, it just stands there while she's like, and then it like one taps her basically, and then steals Holly, right? And so then at this point, like, I'm already like, okay, and like the camera angles are weird, and anyway, and it feels rushed. Like, even up until this point, like the plot feels rushed, okay? And so anyway, and then goes into the Upside Down with Holly, starts running, and then it sets up this kind of like this plot point where then, like, oh, Mike and Will, or Elle and Nancy arrive, I think, and Nancy's like, oh my god, my mom is dying on the floor, my little sister's gone, and then 11 is like, the gate's still open, I'm gonna go into the Upside Down, and so then 11 like angry walks into the Upside Down, and then like the parents, like Ted and Karen Wheeler, like the parents get like taken to the hospital, and so then obviously Mike and Nancy are there. Um, anyway, and so like that whole sequence is just it's just whatever. And so then I don't even remember exactly what happens next, basically, but then they learn that excuse me. Yeah. But then the plot of the show kind of turns into, now Elle and Hopper are split up in the Upside Down, and now they're looking for this Demogorgon to hunt this Demogorgon. And at the same time, they learn that Mr. What's It is actually Henry from Karen at the hospital, because that was Mr. What's It's real name, because that's what Holly said in one of their like pseudotherapy sessions. And then like the gang is like, okay, well, he's targeting kids now, so we have to figure out which kids he's going after, and then we can like protect them. And they learn that it's going after Derek, which is Erica's friend's Tina's little brother. And so then Derek probably the best addition to the season. To be like Delightful Derek was hilarious. Like that was like he's just a fun, entertaining character, right? Like that was just funny. And so then the gang hatches a plot essentially to try to save. I think it's, if I remember right, like they're trying to. It's been a couple weeks now, but they're trying to save Derek. And so what they do is they set a trap for the Demogorgon, and this is probably, I think, the strongest scene in season 5 as a whole, was the whole trapping the Demogorgon scene. I've seen some discourse online where some people were like, yeah, it's kind of like cheesy and corny, but like honestly, based off of what we've seen the Demogorgons be able to do up until this point, it makes the most sense. That was probably my favorite sequence in it so far. And I think one of the reasons why I'm hating on it so much is because I'm not a big fan of how they kind of took some of the horror elements out, and briefly in this sequence they kind of brought it back in, and they brought in some of the elements that I think made the show good from the jump, right? Like these characters are in their own unique ways like contributing to how they're going to try to capture this Demogorgon or injure it or kill it or whatever. I think the only thing I didn't like about this sequence too is why the Demogorgons are so inconsistent. Like those them bitches can hunt. Like you see that bitch like when it's in the prison, the Russian prison in season 4, you see that bitch ransack those prisoners, bro. Shit was taking names left and right. It was running up and like body slamming and like ripping heads open. And Lucas runs into the bedroom and he like hucks a water balloon at it, and he just again sits there and just takes it like a good little bit. It's like it takes that thing. Like it just like sits there, gets hit with one, gets hit with two, gets hit with a third one, and then it just starts to run. And then Lucas is like, oh, and then turns around and runs. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that Demogorgon, the season prior, like mauled, like grown men fearing for their lives in a Russian prison, and it can't chase a kid, right? Anyway, so small nitpick there, but for the most part, like that was a really fun scene. That was entertaining. And then I like how it was like, oh, well, it's actually going after Derek now because remember it can see through Will, and again, how they didn't think that it would see through Will, crazy oversight, plot had to happen. I get it. And then so then it keeps going essentially, and then at this point, like the Demogorgon ended up, I think, getting injured. I don't think it actually took Derek, but it ends up getting injured, and it pivots to run into the silo at the barn that they're at, and then Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and Dustin, they're in this car, like trying to track the bitch through the Upside Down, and that's how they learn it. Anyway, so then they're following it, and then they're like, dude, do we follow it into the Upside Down? And obviously they do, and that splits up the characters even more. So now they're fragmented even more, right? So you have just, they split it up again and again and again and again. All of this feels rushed, right? Like this is a brand new plot basically that they're introduced, and obviously new season, so like duh, right? But like they're brand new plot, brand new information, brand new questions that they're kind of introducing and kind of building another world with, again, the world that they've spent the last like 4 seasons and at this point 9 years building. It's like they're trying to give us more when at the end of the last season they built it up like the questions are answered. Like there's no more like, and I get that there needs to be like nuance, and there has to be like another kind of like season plot, right? It can't necessarily just be a ton of fighting between like the good and the bad, but that's the way that they set it up and presented it, and now they're rushing more. Like my problem isn't necessarily that they're kind of adding some of these other fun elements into it and kind of like rolling it back a tiny bit. My problem is that they're adding a lot more without trying to answer the questions that they've set up already, you know? But anyway, like I'll kind of like circle back to that in a second, but more just kind of like through the episodes. And then, so what happens is now they're in the Upside Down. Those 4 crash, and then they're just kind of like sitting there doing their thing. But so they're in the Upside Down. Elle and Hopper are now raiding the government facility in the Upside Down because they think Vecna's there. Why they would think Vecna is there doesn't make sense to me. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. He, obviously, we know that this dude is a mass murderer, capable of killing a lot of people, has no problem killing government officials. How the military would have managed to capture him in his now home turf doesn't make sense to me. Right? And so, anyway, so like and then they discover 8, which was a cool scene, which was like, that was a cool, I'm glad 8 is being brought back. I actually like that episode, season 2. I think some of my issues with it are like more nuanced. They're not necessarily like, oh, like what the fuck was happening. It was more like, how do you realistic. How does 11 get there? Like, I have no issue with her like it being in Chicago. My issue is like how does she get, like, she doesn't even know how to read. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, so topic for another time. But point is, she finds a, and that's cool. But again, so like they're in this military installation, right? And then at this military installation, like kind of the height of it all is, Vecna does show up on the end of the first half of that volume, or the end of the first half of the season, end of the volume 1. Vecna does make a dramatic entrance, and so Vecna makes this big dramatic entrance, and like it's cool, don't get me wrong, like. I also didn't think this was very good. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I it, now I feel like we've lost the plot. Okay, so the whole, and I kind of glazed over like a lot of happened in the third episode and even that fourth episode where like Delightful Derek, they hatched that plan to kind of save some of the kids that like Mr. Whatsit is talking to. You know what I mean? Like they do that, and they do have like that kind of plot going on underneath, right? But obviously, like the big hype, the big end of the thing is season 4 or the end of episode 4, where like Vecna pulls up and he just starts throwing ham. All right, and it is cool to see him just be a villain, like Groot arms through someone's skull. That was kind of sick. Seeing the Demogorgons like the Demogorgons like alley up or alley oop or whatever, where like one tosses a human to the other one grabs him and slams him down. Sick as fuck. I was like, yes, that's how they should be moving, and yet Karen Wheeler still alive, by the way. Anyway, so like that was kind of cool, like seeing them just be vicious. But like lost on me. Like we've lost the plot. Same with Will getting powers. We've lost the plot, dude. Like, dude. I get that they've written his character off for 3 seasons, but like, dude, this is a TV show. Why am I getting so worked up? Anyway, so point is though, I just don't really like it. Like in my issue, like it, I think we've lost the plot. Like we've gone away from something that's like eerie and supernatural, and now it's elevated it to like the status of a Marvel show, where it's gonna be like a fight of these crazy superpowers rather than how do you survive an invasion from another planet, basically, which in and of itself kind of like sounds like Marvel superhero-y, but I don't know. I just like, I didn't like how he showed up. He's just tanking bullets left and right, like he's getting shot in the chest, tanking that shit like it's no big deal. Someone's shooting flames at him with a flamethrower, and he like sticks his hand out and he blows the flames back into the dude shooting him, I guess. I don't know, like it was cool, and then but like it was still cool. Like I still liked it. I was like, oh, like shit, like he's here, like stakes are raised. But then like I also in my head was like, stakes aren't raised. This is my biggest complaint of the show so far. They have not killed the main character off once before. They haven't. I saw someone say this online, and it stuck with me, and I still think about it all the time. They introduce side characters to kill off to raise the stakes, but they won't actually raise the stakes because none of the main characters are at risk. Prime example, he's trying to get to Will. Vecna is trying to get to Will at this military like installation, right? He's trying, like he shows up and he's like, I'm gonna torment Will or whatever the fuck. And Joyce is in the way. She's verbal. She's not like injured or anything. She's just like, you stay away from my son. You've gone too far this time. Like you stay away from my son. And could have raised the stakes, legitimately made Vecna a threat here by sliming the fuck out of Joyce. And this mass murdering maniac, right, pushes her to the side. No. I don't know. I was like, that to me, I was like, why? Like, I just watched you for no reason. This dying, struggling soldier on the ground. You stuck your tree branch through his eye sockets. Pop that shit out. Made that shit look like gumballs or some shit. And you're telling me the main character's mother, the one who's protected him for years, who robbed him from you in the first place when you got him back in season 1, you see her and you push her away? Anyway, so I was like, that to me I didn't like. And then Will getting powers, it was cool. Like I don't hate the fact that he's got powers. I feel like it's becoming more like less of a show about it being like slightly supernatural, and more of like becoming like a Marvel like TV show, you know. And so like that anyway, so like I just kind of mentioned, that's my one big complaint is that they have not killed off a main character. Stakes don't feel high to me anymore. Like again, Karen and Ted Wheeler both survived the Demogorgon attack in their home. So they're safe. Joyce escape punishment. I don't know. Like just was moved away to the side and none of the other characters died. Like they had the Demogorgons simultaneously going after like again the fragmented players in the game, and Will took all three of them down, which is a really cool way to demonstrate his abilities. Like I don't hate that, but then again, right, no character suffered any consequences at all from this. This leads me to another big complaint. I think a plot hole. What the whole concept of the crawl makes no sense to me. One, because what is Hopper gonna do if he finds Vecna? Two, it's established in the first season and reinforced in every other season. Elle can open the gate. She opened it in the first place. She banished Vecna in the first place. And on top of that, in season 2, in the second episode, to like get back to the real world after her like being sucked in again, she sees a small gate in the wall and she opens it. And then she closes the whole gate in the end of season 2. And then in season 3, the Russians opened the gate. And then in season 4, Vecna opens the gates. And then in season 5, the Demogorgons can open the gates. There's a massive gate open. And 11 is the only one who can't? Them Demogorgons are spawning gates in like it's nobody's business. They're crawling everywhere. I actually like that. Like, I think it's a cool element. Like I don't I saw some people complain about that, but like I like to me like makes sense in season 1 they were doing the same thing, so consistency. But now all of a sudden Elle can't open anything. So the whole crawl, like if it was consistent, they wouldn't need to go to the military installation because 11 can just make them. Like if they're like, yo, we got to go in there and find Vecna, 11 can just, and they're in, right? So that to me, like, I don't know, like, and I don't know, so I didn't like that. And then they don't kill any main characters, and now they're doing like this bothers me a lot too, because now in this next volume, we know people are gonna die, like we know that, right? And this is the problem because they've sold us on that. Like it's no longer like natural; it's an artificial death, in my opinion, right? Because and obviously I haven't seen it. Like they could do it really well, fully accepting that this next 4 episodes bring the season back to me, But like in my in my eyes, like they go on so many interviews now, and they're like, "Oh, who's gonna die this season?" And they're like, "Ooh, be ready. There's gonna be tears." But now it's like, in my opinion, why? Why? Like these characters, like it should be like a story. Like we should be watching a story, and if a character's end of their journey is to sacrifice themselves for another character or for like the cause or saving the world or whatever, like is like that's chill. But now it feels like they're killing the character because people have been waiting for that to happen for so long. It doesn't really feel like it's going to be the end of a character in a way that like feels natural to me anymore. Now it feels like now it's a PR thing, right? Like now take your pick at who's going to die. It's like, well, like obviously at the end of a show you expect someone to die, like you expect someone like the magnitude of something like this to have a casualty, but you're not sitting here thinking, oh, who's gonna take your pick? It could be any one of them. It's like because they've confirmed that people are dying, which now it feels like now I feel like that was on purpose to keep people talking about it. It's like I don't know, like to me that seems kind of like I don't know. I have a lot of negative. A lot of negative. I think for the most part that covers a lot of my. Oh, and then the last thing for me is I feel like a lot of the character dynamics don't really make any sense. Like a lot of the characters themselves, just aren't um, like for example, like I feel like Steve had a really great character development, really great character arc, and now I feel like he's almost like reduced to just being in love with Nancy again. When I feel like he had really good character development, and I didn't like this in season 4 either. That I didn't like that he was kind of going back to Nancy, because in my mind I'm like he learned his lesson, he started to grow up and become who he wants to be, and I feel like he's now just getting shimmied back into Nancy because like they wanted that kind of like love in season 4. Like the writers wanted to write in like some form of romantic tension, and they gave it back to Steve and Nancy. And then now that Jonathan's back 500 days later, like Jonathan now has been reduced to like nothing as a character, which he's like no longer appealing. He's no longer like a big brother. He's no longer a good boyfriend. He's no longer like, he doesn't have a role anymore. So he's kind of written off as like, now he's Nancy's supposed fiance, or supposed to be. Nancy's still a goat. We love Nancy. She's chill. Robin's character, I'm just not happy with the dialogue. I love Robin, but I don't know. But again, like I feel like that dialogue's not very good. I feel like the only characters who are really acting in line with themselves. Again, Hopper has like they had 3 seasons to give Hopper and Elle like the right amount of character development to have Hopper like trust Elle and like trust that she's like can start taking care of herself. She's got goddamn superpowers, right? And then he's still refusing to let her help in any meaningful way. And I'm like, I don't like that. I think Joyce now as a character, Joyce was like one of the best character in the show. She's a badass. Brought her son back from a supernatural world. Like, that's sick. Go Joyce. And now it's like she's reduced to, oh my baby, nothing's gonna happen to you. When it's like Joyce, trust your peers. Okay, we all know what's going on here, right? Like, and again, it's been 500 days. And then that's probably my biggest gripe is the end of season 4 was like how I said in the beginning of the video. Like season 4 was all those pieces on the board, again, like they do really well, have now converged. It is now the crew versus whatever the fuck comes out of the Upside Down. I don't like how they're bringing a new element of like Henry, who they made out as the main villain, is no longer the main villain. Or I mean the Mind Flayer, right? But then like specifically Vecna now being the season 4 villain, being like one of the big bads, you know? Like it's okay to just have a character be evil. He doesn't need some misunderstood backstory sometimes. I feel like it's fine that he's just an evil dude. He's just an evil dude. And I think too what bothers me is like season 4 answered all of the questions that we've needed since season 1 in a really good and cohesive way, wrapped it in a nice little bow. And now I feel like they're undoing it for no reason. Like it answered the question of where are the other kids with powers? What happened to them? Who was one? What happened there? What was the, I'm not flipping you off. Like what was the first kid like? Who did he turn out to be? Like what happened there, right? What happened in Hawkins to open the gate in the first place? Because we know Elle did it, and then we know that Elle was making contact with a Demogorgon, but why was she looking for the Demogorgon in the first place, right? Answers all those questions. Does it in a beautiful way. One of the coolest villain monologues I've ever seen was that reveal. And he's just a sociopath in that reveal. He's just an evil dude. Like as a kid, he murdered animals for fun to test his powers because he thought spiders were cool because they were killing everybody. And again, like that gate wasn't open back then. So like him being flayed as a kid, if that's like true, because I haven't seen that play or whatever, which again, if they need a play to finish the show, what are we doing? Like I have a lot to say on this, apparently. Anyway, so point is, like, I feel like they answered a lot of the questions in a really good, cohesive, brilliant way. And then now they're undoing a lot of what they did to introduce a new season plot. And it's like this last season, the plot can be finishing the story. Like, I don't know. I'm not the writer. I'm not in their head. And I haven't seen the whole season, right? And I'm just a dude. I don't know nothing about film or TV, so these are just like my personal complaints, and I'm definitely hating on it a lot. I would even give my positive. All right, but there are some things that I did like about the season. One, it's entertaining. It was fun to watch. I like Mike this season a lot. I think Delightful Derek is hilarious. Like I think that's one of the highlights of the season for sure. hmm Like that was good. I really liked. I did like that Home Alone sequence a lot. A lot. That was fun. And I like too, like the only time that I felt like the stakes were high and I genuinely felt like it was a little scary was when Steve and Dustin are sitting in that car. And the Demogorgon starts coming through the lights. That was cool that we actually see them be able to adapt and be able to trace something through the lights because they learned in the last season how the lights work in the Upside Down. It's cool that they're like, oh, we can see it now, but that was scary when they're like, oh my god, it's coming right at us. That was a cool sequence. I like that. That was just like one of those scenes where I was like, damn, okay, like they mean business. And that was cool. And overall, like I do like I don't know. It's just maybe I didn't like that much about the season. Damn. Point is though, I still love Stranger Things. I am still absolutely gonna do a review off of Volume 2 and then Volume 3 and then like for the show as a whole as I go through. Um, but yeah, yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, see ya.